What's going on, you guys? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the first edition of Trading Week Recap. It's a little tough to say, but I think it has a nice ring to it and it pretty well sums up what it's going to be about. So I'm going to do my best to upload one of these every Friday after the markets close and just use this time to kind of reflect on the past week of trading with you guys. We'll talk about the general equity markets, but also touch on some of the stocks we've been talking about over the course of the week as well. So we have to close out our thoughts on Inovio, Novavax, and whatnot, that whole COVID biotech sector. They had a pretty rough day today, so I want to talk to you guys about that. Obviously, I had a great week, closing the week very green, but they did end the week a little rough, so we'll cover that. But again, I also just want to use this time to talk shop with you guys and let you guys know what I'm thinking about the markets overall and just reflect on the week, because reflection is important. Okay, so we will look at a little article that does sum up some of the key reasons why the markets fell today. So I'm sure you guys have seen this. SPX, the S&P 500, Dow Jones, Nasdaq, pretty much all indexes fell today. The markets were pretty bloody today, pretty red, so we will cover that. But before we get into that, I will ask you guys to please give the video a like if you do get any value from it, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. All right, so let's get into this. Before we get into the charts, again, let's just cover kind of the fundamental reasons why the traditional markets and equity indexes fell today. All right, so CNBC article titled "Dow drops 700 points to end week as coronavirus spike raises concern over the economy." You guys can go on to read this whole article for yourself. I just highlighted a few key points to make this as fast as possible for you guys. Okay, so stocks fell sharply on Friday after Texas rolled back some of its reopening measures, raising concerns about the latest spike in coronavirus cases and its impact on the economy. Forgot to highlight the economy. Coronavirus cases are spiking and reopenings are being delayed, which at a minimum will impact earnings. The resurgence in coronavirus cases is raising concerns that the rebound may be short-lived as voluntary or potentially more government-mandated economic shutdowns are becoming increasingly likely. So I'm sure you guys have heard of this as states are beginning to reopen. We've also been talking about it on the channel a lot. And this is, to be honest, it's not surprising at all that as these states are reopening, you are seeing a surge and a resurgence and to be honest, a spike. Like, they're recording record levels of COVID cases across the country, like setting daily highs even before the lockdown was initiated. So it does make sense that, of course, states are reopening. People are coming in contact with each other again. But I think more people are just being tested as well. Like, I have to imagine that before this lockdown, there was actually more cases. People just weren't getting tested, so the numbers weren't there. It's definitely a lagging indicator, but the numbers are actually starting to catch up with the reality of how many people do have it. But the numbers are the numbers, and they are spiking. They're going off the charts. So a lot of these states are thinking about kind of reevaluating their reopenings. And again, Texas is pulling back a lot of the stages that they're looking into going into in regard to reopening. So that is a very negative sign, and obviously that is a big reason. That's probably the primary factor as to why the general equity markets fell today. All right, so shares of companies that would benefit from an economic reopening tumbled. United Airlines, American, and Delta all slid more than 3%. Cruise operator Norwegian Cruise Line dropped 5%. So to be honest, that's not much. They did the whole travel industry as a whole. So I'm still shorting a decent amount of travel stocks right now. I did make a video about that, I think a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. I can't remember exactly how long ago it was, but I did make a video covering the travel industry and why I'm super bearish on the travel industry. And this the fact that states are even reconsidering a lockdown, to be completely honest, I also have said that I didn't think this was going to happen. It's pretty crazy to me that states are actually initiating a phase 2 lockdown, so re-locking down after trying to reopen. I get why they're doing it. Obviously, you want to flatten the curve again, but I didn't think they would do this. This is sketchy times. But this is obviously terrible for the travel industry as a whole, because if states are locked down again, and actually a lot of travel restrictions are being put in place too. Like, it's not easy for us to go to Europe right now, okay, or just Japan, whatever, any international country. Like, international borders are definitely putting in some strict guidelines as to travel right now. So terrible news for all travel stocks. It was again, I talked about it in the video I posted a couple weeks ago. I'm pretty much permanently bullish on travel stocks for the coming future. Not even near midterm, long-term future. Not even gonna put a gauge on that. But I'm like almost a perma bear on them until this pandemic has completely slowed and I actually see people traveling once again. Okay, so maybe we'll actually look at some of the charts. I think we'll probably look at an airline index just because I'm curious as to exactly what it looks like right now. But let's move on from that so we can get into the charts. Banks under pressure after Fed stress test. The Federal Reserve's annual stress test of the major banks showed some banks could get close to minimum capital levels in scenarios related to the coronavirus pandemic, Because of this, banks must suspend share repurchase programs and cap dividend payments at current levels for the third quarter. So a lot of the bank stocks fell today, and you guys, banks are a huge part of the financial markets. Of the financial markets and the stock markets. Okay, so banks, huge market caps. They do heavily weight a lot of these indexes, like the S&P. So it is a big deal when the banks fall. Okay, so again, the bad news: banks are huge players in the entire financial system, not only the stock markets. That's kind of what I was getting at earlier. But yeah, you just have to. It's sketchy if the banks are in trouble. That is usually bad news for the economy as a whole, but definitely financial markets and stock markets, equity markets, all the above. Okay, so that's just something to keep an eye on. I personally don't trade bank stocks, but it's just important to gauge the performance of the entire sector. Okay, and this kind of plays into that as well. Meanwhile, Nike shares slid 7.6% on the back of a surprising quarterly loss for the apparel giant. So this is pretty bad news. The fact that Nike pretty heavily disappointed on earnings is a bad sign. To be honest, this is kind of one of the stocks that it's tough to tell. Like, they obviously have a huge e-commerce side to them. They do have a lot of brick and mortar as well. I bet a lot of people obviously buy Nike apparel, Nike goods in brick and mortar in like actual physical stores. But they do have, like, I buy Nike online personally whenever I buy Nike stuff. So I imagine I did imagine prior to these earnings that they were keeping up, but I guess not. So that's definitely a sign, a bad sign of consumer sentiment right now. So that means that people just aren't buying. Okay, people aren't spending money on goods, just clothing, kind of like recreational things. But yeah, it's, again, you guys, it's just good to keep it on, even if you're not trading these. Like, I don't trade banks, I haven't traded Nike. It's just good to be aware of the entire markets and see what's going on in different sectors, because again, it all ties up into this big ecosystem that is the stock market. Okay, so that all said, that kind of sums it up. A little long-winded on that, sorry, but let's get into the charts. This is just tracking the day. You can see today, this morning, upon market open, the markets did gap down right there. And over the course, they definitely, they just shot pretty straight downwards. Definitely crashed over the first hour or so of the day, and then over the course of the day went pretty flat. Tried to regain some steam over as the market was closing, but immediately got shut back down. Okay, so if you guys did watch the video I posted yesterday, I was talking about how I cashed out on specifically my Inovio positions and stuff, which did tank today, and it kind of did play out the way I said, because again, a lot of traders are in this market right now. Traders don't want to hold their positions over the weekend, and it's very this is kind of trading 101. On Fridays, you will likely see sell-offs later in the day, unless investor sentiment overall is very bullish. Okay, and even in the cases like where are they? Okay, so we'll get to Inovio, Novavax and stuff, but I actually want to show you guys just kind of the macro level chart right here. Okay, so again, it's crazy that we're back. We almost that we're scraping all-time highs off of this dead cat bounce, which again, go watch my market bubble just popped video, and I explain in further detail why that is. I'll try to post a video tomorrow, actually, giving some more analysis on the overall markets and just how crazy overvalued these are, in terms of like PE ratio and everything. But again, I'll save that for another video. Markets are super overvalued. I'm very confident that we're going to see another significant pullback in the general equity markets. But yeah, I'll save that for another time. We'll talk about that more in another video, probably tomorrow. Okay, so let's move on to some of these players that definitely started the day. Here, let's go to like the 5 minutes so we can look at this a little closer. So these had a funky day today. Okay, so they started the morning super significantly down. So all these companies, Inovio, Novavax, Moderna Stock, they all saw a similar pattern this morning. So they opened up upon market open in pre-market before hours. They were significantly down. Okay, so huge red candle down. Hard times for all these stocks, but it's very bullish. Yeah, I would consider this bullish. That it was all of that red was almost immediately eaten back up within the first hour or so of market open. Like, that shows strong investor sentiment. That shows that a lot of people want to be part of this. You can see volume is pretty solid. This is on a 5-minute candle. Let's actually take a look at Inovio's volume on like an hourly candle. So yeah, volume still up slightly tapering off, but I mean, you set an extremely high bar with this candle volume yesterday, so it's not surprising. Again, it's Friday. It's not surprising me that a lot of these stocks are selling off, especially when the traditional markets sold off like they did. But that's what I was saying. Like sometimes these just accidentally moved that. Sometimes these stocks and this sector can act as a hedge to traditional markets, especially at a time right now when COVID cases are going up, and it makes sense for investors to want to pile into these. But I definitely stand by my theory that I do think general equity markets will fall going into next week. I think this is just the beginning of what will be a greater move down. And again, it's so obvious with cases going up. That's the reason that like I was bullish going into this past week on this entire sector. Cases are going up. The more that states reopen, the more cases will go up. It just heightens, like facts aside, cases aside, it heightens consumer sentiment, more so investor sentiment, in terms of, oh, like I got to get in on the stocks that save the world stocks, the stocks that could provide a solution to this huge, massive global economic problem. Okay, so that's just kind of my bird's eye view rationale on why I really like this sector right now. And I'll probably honestly talk about this again in the Waves Weekly and Stocks to Watch next week, because this I'm more bullish specifically on this sector by far, to be honest, than any other sector. But like nothing's really changed much today in the charts. Like again, Inovio, Novavax down 4%, 7%, Moderna down 1%, Sorrento down 7.5%. Like relative to how well they performed over the course of this week, they're all still significantly up on the week. So Inovio looks good. Like I mean, if you want to, like it technically did break, I guess, kind of. I mean, not really though. You could say this is a trend line. Like this is a pretty conservative trend line right here. So it's still following that upward trend. It's obviously still in an uptrend. You don't even need to draw anything or really look at anything to see that. On the hourly, the stochastic RSI is low, so that tells me that it probably will curl up on Monday. But again, I mean, fundamentals drive this market. The fact that there's more cases out there right now than ever, and they will continue to climb as these states reopen. Although they are reconsidering the reopening, like it's still putting a lot of attention back onto the reality of COVID, because a lot of people brushed it off, and that's a bummer. But again, it's good for these stocks. So Inovio, Novavax, actually, I want to show you guys this on Novavax. I sent this out in the newsletter this morning, which I'm actually going to show you guys after, just to give you guys an example, because I want to let you guys know what that looks like, because I do talk about it a lot, but I never give you guys an actual kind of example of it, so I wanted to do that. Anyway, let's look at Novavax. Novavax actually printed a head and shoulders pattern. So I did touch, if you guys have been watching previous videos, I touched on this not too long ago. Actually, it was Novavax that printed one years ago on like a greater scale. But this is a good example of kind of a smaller scale head and shoulders pattern. So you see this move up, left shoulder, move up, head, falls back down. It's capitulating, going straight around this area. So it's just kind of mirroring this side, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. And then I expect it to come back down to about the $70 level. Again, this is strictly a technical pattern right here. But again, the more traders that are involved with this market, the more technicals come into play. Although this sector, I always talk about it being fundamentally driven, and I do weight fundamentals over technicals. That is a fact. But I mean, this is a pretty textbook looking head and shoulders pattern in my mind. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Novavax kind of follow or kind of play out this head and shoulders, but then start to go back up. I'm permanently bullish. The way I'm permanently bearish on travel stocks, I'm permanently bullish on this vaccine sector and Sorrento as a treatment. This just the whole COVID solution biotech sector, until we do get a tangible solution or a tangible treatment or a tangible vaccine. Okay, so I'm medium to long-term bullish on this sector. At this point, I'm just trying to trade it, trying to maximize profits. If this shoots up, I still win because I still have a position, but I did reduce my position because I do think we will see a pullback prior to it continuing its move up. All right, so Moderna, we'll look at Moderna quick. Moderna is still dancing on this bottom line of supports very like reliably, to be honest. So it's using this line of support pretty strongly. Again, it was only down 1% today while the rest of the sector was up. Obviously, it's been going pretty flat. Like it's flat on the week, maybe a little down on the week, I guess, but I mean, I'm still bullish on Moderna, just because it is the kingpin of this sector. It's the OG of this biotech vaccine sector. So I do feel like it'll do well. I'm still invested in Moderna personally, and I do expect it to I say this all the time, but I still expect it to come back up to at least like this $70 to $75 region. I don't think that's crazy at all. It is like a 15% gain, but I mean, I see it happening, especially again, just with all the news coming out about COVID cases spiking. It is just it's obvious in my mind. My money's on it. Trust me, guys. It could very well not happen. I don't know. It could break down. If it does break below this significantly, that's very dangerous, and then I would have to reevaluate my position. But again, I'm a perma bull as of right now on this entire sector, and my money's on that. All right, so let's move on to Sorrento. Sorrento actually looks amazing right now. So Sorrento kind of played out this head and shoulders, not as much as I would have liked it to. Again, this was debatably a head and shoulders from the get-go. I played it as that. It's still saw a significant move up. It did correct back down today, down 7.5%. I think it was down like as much as 10% at one point in the day. But if we look at Sorrento actually on like let's look at it on like a 5-minute. So this is a beautiful. Just get rid of that because that's useless. This is a beautiful entry point in my mind. Like you see this huge move up. Like this is in my eyes the ideal discount buy. So Sorrento's obviously trending up on the macro scale like we just looked at. I still think it can definitely hit $10. That's about a 2x from where it's at, a little less, but so it's a huge move. But again, Sorrento, $1 billion company. It doesn't take much capital inflow to shoot this stock up to $10. And like this is the ideal buying opportunity. You see a huge spike, just straight up FOMO, huge buy. It does sell off over the course of today, but like it's right at the level that it was at before yesterday's huge move up. So you're pretty much just getting to buy it at the level it was at prior to that huge spike. But in my mind, again, it's obvious to me, and always know you guys, I'm betting on what I'm saying. My money's on this. I not doubled down, but I did add a decent amount to my Sorrento position this morning, just because this is such a great buying opportunity in my mind. Okay, so I am bullish on Sorrento 100% going into next week. It is a little scary. It is a little sketchy seeing the market move like this. Obviously, like if you bought Sorrento up here, my apologies, my condolences. But I'm still confident that it will see a significant move up next week, just along with everything that I keep repeating myself about. Okay, so cases are spiking significantly, and I just can't imagine with the equity markets going down, with money flooding out of traditional equities and tech stocks and whatnot. That money wants to make money. Those are newer. A lot of the money in those are newer traders. They chase shiny objects. These right now are the shiniest objects on the market in my eyes. So it would surprise me personally to see these not perform next week. All right, except for maybe Novavax, they might see a pullback if it follows the technical pattern. But again, long-term bullish on this sector. This is definitely weights my my personal portfolio the most right now, and it is a sector I'm most excited about, most invested in, and I like talking to you guys about, as you can tell, because that's all we've been talking about over the course of this week. All right, so let's close it out with this. I just wanted to show you guys an example of the newsletter I send out every morning. It's morning to me, so I send this out between 8 and 9 a.m. every morning Hawaii time. So I know for my family on the East Coast, my friends and fam over on the East Coast, it's definitely not the morning. It's 6 hours behind. But I do send this out with about an hour or two during market open to spare, just to give you guys an idea of what I'm doing while the market's actually open. So yeah, I'll just read this out with you guys. So Freaky Friday, the general equity markets are seeing some blood today. All indexes are down a few percent, with some large players down pretty significantly. There are a select few of my put options that are absolutely thriving right now. Haha. So yeah, a lot of my put options did extremely well this morning. Again, the markets are in the red. That's why it's good to hold put options as well. Just because it's a hedge to the markets. Like, again, it's hard to believe that the markets can see a significant pullback when we've seen the past month or the past couple months of just green. But again, these little hedges that you make can pay off, because just you're zigging when the market zags. You're going against the grain, and you reap the rewards of that if you take the risk. What I believe not to be much of a risk because of many of the things I've explained in the past in regard to general markets and the economy. But yeah, if you take those risks, they pay off big time. So a lot of my put options were doing really well this morning. This is what I've been saying, guys. I know it can be hard to believe that we can see another crash when it's felt like stocks can only go up over the past few months. But that's the scary part. When the markets get too comfortable, that's when the tables turn. Stay rational and stay safe out there, guys. I'm expecting some rough waters ahead. So I'm not going to read this whole thing, actually. I did go on to just talk about kind of Moderna, Sorrento, and Novavax positions. My thoughts in the moment. Talked about Novavax, how I saw that head and shoulders. I sent all the subscribers, all you guys, if you are subscribed, thank you if you are, this picture. And then I did talk about my put options, talked about VIX. I will cover VIX in a future video. So that's a volatility index that's tracking volatility, and volatility does very good when the markets do bad. All right, so I will try to make a video on that in the future, just kind of explaining what that is and why I like playing volatility. But that is for another day. So you guys can check out the complete portfolio and newsletter down below. Again, complete portfolio. This is an example of the newsletter that you will get in your inbox every trading day around 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Hawaii time. So yeah, check that out if you're interested at all. If not, no worries. But I appreciate you tuning in for this first episode of Trading Week Recap. I almost forgot the name of it for a second. But yeah, again, I'll do my best to make one of these every Friday. Again, I just love closing out the week with you guys, especially in such an exciting week like this one's been, where our positions and obviously Inovio, Novavax have moonshot and did close on a kind of a rough note, but I mean, still so green on the week. So exciting times, you guys. I will see you guys either tomorrow or Sunday. I will try to upload that kind of general equity market analysis tomorrow, because again, I've been reading some crazy things today in regard to the market, so I do want to get those points across. But if not, I'll talk to you guys on Sunday on Waves Weekly. So yeah, I'll see you guys then. Until then, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace. Later.